Hello and welcome back to another Tuesday episode of World Traveler Cooking. Today I'm going to make another, more standard, Ukrainian borscht. Okay, this one will not be vegetarian. The last one was vegetarian just because so many of my viewers are from Catholic countries where maybe Christmas is a fasting holiday, so I figured I'd do something compatible with that. So this one is going to be more standard. I am not going to add potatoes because I don't have them, but you can add whatever veggies you like. Now, borscht is a Ukrainian version of a Siberian soup. The Siberian soup most notably did not have beets in it. Beets were a substitution that occurred first in Ukraine, as far as I can tell. And there were other substitutions found elsewhere in Eastern Europe. So, for example, in Poland, instead of fermented beets, fermented rye flour was a substitute. That's what they call white borscht, and I'll make that in another video sometime. But this is going to be pretty much a standard borscht. I have a pound of pork cut in cubes. I have cabbage, as much as I want to use, 2 carrots, about half a kilogram of beets, fresh beets. I have another half a kilogram, sorry for the background noise, of fermented beets. These have been fermented for a couple of weeks in salt water. I have another video where I discuss how to do that. I have salt, I have pepper, and I have some dill. So that's what our ingredients are. Let's go ahead and get started. This is made similarly to the vegetarian version, but also a little differently. So I'm going to start by making a broth, and this broth will only be lightly salted because I'm going to get a lot more salt. I'm going to use the full can of or bottle of beets here. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have our pound of pork, a bunch of water, and I'm going to lightly salt this. And we'll just bring that to a boil. While this happens, I will be preparing my veggies, and I'll be back. So once the broth is boiling and we have skimmed it once, I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons of oil to a big soup pot. We're going to let this get a little warmer, and then I will add my onions, which I forgot to mention in the intro, but I'm using 2 onions today. And after the onions, we'll add carrots and then beets. The oil does not have to be super hot when we add our onions. It's just a little bit of hissing will do. And I'll just keep stirring this occasionally while I continue to get my rest of my vegetables ready. So once these onions are starting to brown a little bit, which you can see here, I'm going to add my carrots, and I will stir this in. And I'll be back to stir it occasionally while I finish julienning my beets, and then we'll add them too. And now in go the fresh beets. And we'll again stir this periodically. Yeah, and we'll cook this for a while so the color just kind of infuses everything. That's when we know it'll be fully cooked. Now, it's worth noting, if I was using potatoes, I would have probably put them in with the carrots or with the beets. Probably with the beets. But you can see this is cooking in nicely. The color is infusing nicely. And so we're going to have to add our sliced cabbage and stuff. I'm adding again, just like last time, I'm adding the little bits of the beet stems that were attached to the root. So I think they'll be really good. But I'll keep doing this. Be right back. So at this point, we can almost not tell the carrots from the beets anymore. This is looking really good. So I'm going to add my cabbage, and I've added the little bits of stems from the beets. I'm just going to let this sweat now for another 5 minutes or so. And then we'll start to put together the broth. So at this stage, while I'm waiting for the veggies, I'm going to slice my pork thin. You could even shred it if you wanted. But I'm just going to chop it up a bit. And I'll go through all this pork. And when I'm done, we will start on the main soup construction. So, in goes our broth. And this will come to a boil really fast because the broth was basically at boiling temperature. We'll probably add some more water, but we'll see how we are in a moment. In goes the chopped meat. And in goes some of the fermented beet broth, or beet juice. And we can add some of the fermented beets too if we like. Interestingly enough, fermented beets don't have the same sourness as the juice. So I'm actually going to add most of the rest of this. And then we'll adjust. Definitely needs more water. So adding a bit of water. I also think it probably needs the rest of the pickled beet, or the fermented beet, so I'm going to add them. I'm now going to let this cook for about 5 minutes. I will taste it again and I may adjust the salt. I will also add pepper, though I'll add some at this point. So, it's worth noting that some people today add vinegar. You shouldn't have to add vinegar if you have nice pickled, not pickled, but fermented beets. People add vinegar today because they want the sourness, the tanginess that we would have normally gotten from the beets. But this is starting to look really good, and just going to let this cook a little more, and I'll taste and adjust. And when that's done, I'll be ready to add the dill. Okay, so I've tasted this and it seems about the right salty balance, so in goes the dill. We'll cook this for a couple of minutes and then we'll be ready for the taste test. This is looking really good. So to present, I've just put some sour cream and some dill on top. Next up, the taste test. And now for the taste test. First I'm going to try a little bit without the sour cream, and then I'll try some with. This is a delicious, delicious soup. This is really, really good. And that's without the sour cream. Now let's try it with. So, it's interesting. Without the sour cream, the flavors are a lot more delicate. But with it, the soup is just so much richer. This is absolutely delicious. It's definitely a totally great soup. I strongly recommend everybody try to make it. Now, if you find this content interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. If you make a dish like this and you do it a little differently, please let me know what kind of variations you do. It's great to share this sorts of tips in the comments. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.